Mechanics all over Europe are trying to warn their customers about 17 cars that are turning into real nightmares in the workshop. One has a timing chain so poorly designed that the repair costs more than the car when it was new. Another requires removing the entire engine just to change the spark plugs. And then there is a luxury SUV where a simple sensor failure results in a bill of almost €4,800. These vehicles are not just unreliable, they are ticking time bombs ready to drain your bank account. If you are planning to buy a car in 2026, this video could save you years of frustration in the workshop and thousands of euros in repairs. The most experienced mechanics see every day which models keep coming back, which repairs cost more than a monthly mortgage, and which vehicles they would rather never touch again. That is why I will tell you what manufacturers across Europe prefer to keep quiet. The 17 cars that experts practically beg their customers to avoid. These are not just opinions. According to data from DEKRA, TÜV and the European Automobile Federation, these vehicles have the highest repair rates, the longest workshop times, and the most expensive spare parts in the industry. In this video, we show you the truth about the cars manufacturers would rather keep hidden at all costs. 17th, Fiat 500X. In 17th place is the Fiat 500X, a crossover that was once marketed with Italian style and the promise of the practical capability of an SUV. With a starting price of around €24,990, it initially seemed like a real bargain. But behind its elegant facade lies a nightmare, and the culprit is the 1.3-litre multi-jet engine. According to 2025 service data, the timing chain must be replaced every 60,000 kilometers instead of the 150,000 kilometers promised by Fiat. This requires removing the entire engine, a 14-hour operation that costs at least €3,200. One mechanic told me he had seen 500X models with completely destroyed engines because their owners simply could not afford the expensive maintenance. But the 1.4-litre multi-air gasoline engine is not much better. Due to heavy carbon buildup on the intake valves, mechanics even nicknamed it the Sloth. Cleaning the intake valves is necessary every 30,000 kilometers and costs around €450 each time. According to the latest ADAC breakdown statistics, the roadside assistance rate for the Fiat 500X is 42% higher than the average in its class. However, what really infuriates mechanics are the prices of spare parts. A simple thermostat housing costs €380 at Fiat, while the same part costs only €85 at Volkswagen. Due to supply issues, customers often have to wait 3 weeks to receive standard parts. Depreciation is also telling. After 3 years, used Fiat 500X models retain, on average, only 38% of their original value, worse than any other model in its class. 16. Nissan Juke. In 16th place is the Nissan Juke, a vehicle that has become the terror of European workshops. The second generation, introduced in 2019, was supposed to eliminate all the weaknesses of its predecessor, but the opposite happened. With a starting price of around €22,900, the Juke attracts buyers with its eye-catching design, only to ruin them with astronomical repair costs. The CVT transmission is particularly notorious and is considered a nightmare. Reports indicate that 31% of all models built between 2020 and 2023 suffered transmission damage, ranging from jerking and loud noises to total failure before 50,000 kilometers. A replacement costs an average of €4,100. However, the real issue lies with the transmission fluid. According to workshops, the CVT fluid must be changed every 30,000 kilometers, not every 60,000 kilometers as stated in the owner's manual. Those who do not comply lose their warranty. The 1.0-litre, 3-cylinder DIGT turbo engine also causes problems. The timing chain tensioners wear prematurely, causing a characteristic noise on startup. If you hear that noise, you may have only 1,000 kilometers left before the engine shuts down. The repair requires removing the engine completely, and the cost is at least €2,800. In addition, there are countless electronic defects. The ProPilot system breaks unexpectedly, the infotainment system frequently freezes, and key fobs fail completely in cold weather. In countries with harsh winters, you can spend thousands of euros in 4 months, only to end up selling the car for a fraction of its cost. 15th, Citroën C4 Picasso. In 15th place is the Citroën C4 Picasso, later renamed Space Tourer, a fun family car that boasts generous space and everyday usability, but ultimately destroys the family budget. Models from 2013 to 2018 are considered particularly problematic by mechanics, although newer models are somewhat better. The automated manual transmission known as EGS is infamous in workshops across Europe. This notorious reputation is due to the fact that the clutch actuator regularly fails every 40,000 kilometers, costing around €1,200 each time. Many Picasso drivers have already paid more than €3,600 just for actuators before finally giving up on the car. But the real nightmare lies in the 16-litre HDI diesel engine, more specifically in the DPF system, the diesel particulate filter. In urban traffic, the filter regenerates approximately every 200 kilometers, which consumes more fuel and, in the long run, damages the turbocharger. When the filter becomes completely clogged, it gets very expensive, with replacement costs around €2,400. The French consumer protection organization UFC Que Choisir recorded more than 2,000 complaints about this issue alone, a clear indication of a structural problem, but that is not all. The rear axle also frequently causes problems. Wheel bearings often fail after just 60,000 kilometers, at a cost of around €800 per side. On higher trim levels, the air suspension causes additional issues. A faulty air suspension can cost around €1,100. As a result, many owners simply keep driving their Picassos, even if they end up leaning dangerously to one side. 14. Range Rover Evoque. In 14th place is the Range Rover Evoque, proof that a price of around €45,000 does not guarantee reliability. Mechanics are outraged when one of these SUVs arrives at their workshops, and some have even gone so far as to charge a special fee for every Evoque repair. The infamous Ingenium engines are true ticking time bombs. According to British warranty provider Anti-White, 67% of Evoque models built between 2016 and 2020 suffer serious engine failures before reaching 80,000 kilometers. The main cause is almost always an overstressed timing chain, which causes devastating valve damage. An engine overhaul costs around €8,500, but the problem does not end there. The new automatic transmission causes additional issues, with software errors leading to harsh shifts, while mechanical defects leave drivers completely stranded without warning. Land Rover's proposed solution consists of paid software updates costing around €400, which rarely fix the issue, and a full transmission replacement that costs an average of €6,200. However, what truly drives mechanics crazy is the complex maintenance involved, as special tools or proprietary software are required for almost every repair. Even changing the brake pads requires activating special software at a cost of €200 just to release the electronic parking brake. An oil change requires a complex reset protocol, and even replacing the battery must be coded at the dealership for around €150. According to TUV data, around 40% of Evoque models suffer from water leaks, fogged headlights, wet footwells, and corroded electronic components. The panoramic sunroof drainage channels clog constantly and flood the interior so frequently that insurance companies now explicitly exclude water damage coverage for used models. 13th, BMW X1. In 13th place is the BMW X1, the brand's entry-level SUV, which, with a base price of around €39,000, attracts buyers across Europe with the promise of German reliability, only to surprise them with German-priced repair bills. The F48 generation, models from 2015 to 2022 in particular, is causing a stir in workshops. The main problem affects all four-cylinder engines. The timing chain, which is supposed to last more than 200,000 kilometers, begins to stretch after just around 40,000 kilometers. If you hear the familiar rattling noise on cold starts, the damage has already been done. A complete repair, including chain tensioners, guides and labor, costs around €3,400. BMW specialists say they see an average of 2 X1s per week in their workshops with faulty timing chains. It is no longer a question of if it will happen, but when, but that is only the beginning. The xDrive all-wheel drive system has its own weaknesses. Bearings in the transfer case often disintegrate after just 60,000 kilometers, noticeable through squeaking and vibrations. Replacing them costs around €4,200. BMW initially denied the problem but later quietly extended the warranty, though only for customers who complained openly. Then there are the run-flat tires, another costly peculiarity. They cost around 40% more than conventional tires, offer less driving comfort and cannot be repaired. They must always be replaced entirely. A single pothole can cost €350. According to statistics from German tire dealers, X1 owners replace an average of 6 tires within the first 3 years. A luxury for a car that is supposed to stand for reliability. 12. Opel Crossland. In 12th place is the Opel Crossland, a clear example of everything that can go wrong with modern compact SUVs. With a starting price of around €22,000, it looks like a good deal at first glance. But once the first repair bills arrive, the picture changes completely. Models from 2017 to 2020 in particular are considered real problem cases by mechanics. The 1.2-litre PureTech gasoline engine, which the Crossland shares with Peugeot, is a constant source of headaches. The infamous wet timing belt disintegrates over time in the engine oil, destroying the entire lubrication system. Belgian mechanic Philippe Martins sums it up perfectly. If the engine starts running poorly, it is already too late. At that point, you are looking at around €4,000 for a complete engine overhaul on a car that cost barely €22,000 when new. The 6-speed automatic transmission makes things worse. Faulty solenoid valves cause harsh gear changes until the transmission eventually fails completely. Spare parts are scarce, with documented cases of owners having to wait 7 weeks or more for a new transmission control unit, paying a steep price of around €3,100. The steering system does not fare any better. The electric power steering fails without warning, turning driving into an exhausting workout. The motorized steering assist mounted directly on the steering column regularly overheats and burns out. Replacing it requires removing the entire dashboard. This involves 10 hours of labor plus approximately €1,400 in parts. The Crossland thus impressively demonstrates that cheap to buy does not mean cheap to maintain. 11th, Mercedes CLA WW177. In 11th place is a model that proves a Mercedes star is no longer a guarantee of quality, the CLA Class W177, introduced in 2018. With a starting price of around €32,800, buyers expect superior reliability, but what they mostly get is premium-grade scrap. The 1.3-litre turbo engine, developed in collaboration with Renault, is well known, but not for being particularly good. Head gasket failures are common after as little as 30,000 kilometers. Typical symptoms such as white smoke, coolant loss, and overheating almost always lead to the same outcome: a repair bill of around €3,800. A few years ago, the internet was flooded with complaints about CLA-class models suffering head gasket failures in less than 20 months, something that drew a lot of attention because Mercedes had never had this issue before. But the dual-clutch transmission is also causing serious problems. According to German car forums, 45% of vehicles are affected by clutch vibrations. The mechatronic unit often fails without warning, leaving the car immobilized. Mercedes' official solution, a complete transmission replacement, costs around €5,200, about 15% of the car's total value. What is particularly frustrating is that extended warranties explicitly exclude this type of damage as normal wear and tear. The acclaimed MBUX infotainment system is another major source of frustration. Frozen screens, navigation crashes, and complete system failures are common. Repairs almost always involve replacing the entire module for around €2,100. But here lies the real problem. Many of the new modules last only a few months before failing again. A sad record for a brand that once stood for engineering excellence. 10. Volkswagen T-Roc. Our list of the worst disappointments begins at number 10 with a real surprise. The Volkswagen T-Roc is a vehicle that impressively demonstrates that even VW's reputation for solid engineering is no longer untouchable. With a starting price of around €27,000, it is far from cheap, neither to buy nor to maintain. The main culprit is the 1.5-litre TSI engine. The installed cylinder deactivation system has a fundamental flaw. As soon as the engine switches from 2 to 4 cylinders, excessive oil consumption begins at around 1 litre per 1,000 kilometres. VW's discouraging official response is that this falls within the normal range, but mechanics see it very differently. From 50,000 kilometres onward, it is common to find scored cylinders and damaged piston rings. A complete engine replacement costs an average of €6,500. The infamous DSG transmission also continues to cause problems despite years of revisions. The DQ200 dry clutch version tends to produce severe jerking, overheating, and total failures. Each DSG transmission costs around €3,900, but even the improved DQ381 wet clutch version is not the solution. Mechatronic defects are so frequent that many owners are forced into costly repairs after just a few years, and as if that were not enough, another persistent issue emerges: faulty water pumps. After just 30,000 kilometers, the plastic impeller in the pump crumbles in many T-Roc engines, leading to overheating within minutes. In the best-case scenario, replacement costs around €400. In the worst case, overheating destroys the entire engine, adding another €5,000 in costs. For a car that is supposed to embody German reliability, this is a bitter verdict. 9. Ford Kuga. In 9th place, the Ford Kuga plug-in hybrid exposes the full tragedy behind Ford's hybrid planning. With a starting price of around €39,500, it promised efficiency and reliability, but delivered only complexity and disaster. In many European workshops, customers are explicitly advised against buying one, and the main reason is the catastrophic cooling system of the hybrid setup. The high-voltage battery regularly overheats, reducing performance until it eventually fails completely. A replacement battery costs around €12,000, more than many complete used cars. Ford's recall over fire risk affected more than 20,000 vehicles in Europe, but it never fully resolved the underlying problem. The installed 2.5-litre Atkinson cycle engine fares no better, consuming oil like an old diesel. The piston rings are too small, causing excessive pressure loss, a guaranteed path to engine failure. But what truly drives workshops insane is the software. All updates require Ford's proprietary diagnostic tools, which cost several €1,000 and still often fail to work as intended. One update that was supposed to fix battery charging issues caused transmission damage in around 15% of vehicles, according to workshop reports. The Ford Kuga clearly demonstrates that hybrid technology can be expensive, especially when it is poorly implemented. 8. Alfa Romeo Giulia. In 8th place, the Alfa Romeo Giulia shows that Italian passion and technical reliability unfortunately rarely go hand in hand. With a starting price of around €42,000, it seduces with its design, sound, and road presence, only to bankrupt owners with astronomical repair costs. Even renowned Alfa Romeo specialists now advise against buying one. The 2.0-litre turbocharged gasoline engine is the main problem. Due to direct injection without additional port injection, the intake valves carbonize after as little as 20,000 kilometers. Performance drops, misfires occur, and the inevitable cleaning costs around €800. Many workshops now consider this valve cleaning a standard annual service. Faulty software calibrations cause harsh gear changes and premature clutch wear. The mechatronic unit responsible for control fails frequently, and replacement costs around €3,200. Italian workshops report gearbox failures starting at around 40,000 kilometers, simply unacceptable for a vehicle in this price range. On top of that come countless electronic problems that border on the comical. Power windows fail monthly, the infotainment system freezes daily, and faulty sensors trigger a full light show of warning messages. 7. Renault Captur. In 7th place is the Renault Captur, a car that, with a starting price of around €22,000, attracts many buyers with its appealing price-to-value ratio, only to disappoint them. A financial disaster. Its reliability is so poor that it would make even small cars from the 1980s blush. The 1.3-litre TCE engine, developed jointly with Mercedes, combines the worst of both brands. Timing chain problems appear from around 35,000 kilometers, turbocharger failures follow after 50,000 kilometers, and oil consumption is consistently excessive. Some workshops have even decided to dedicate a lift exclusively to the Capture because there is always one in for repairs. The EDC dual-clutch transmission is even worse. The clutches start slipping at 30,000 kilometers, and total failure is practically guaranteed by 60,000 kilometers. A full replacement costs around €4,100. What is most surprising is that Renault rejects many warranty claims, arguing that this is normal wear and tear. Those who choose the E-Tech hybrid version simply trade mechanical problems for electronic ones. The clutchless transmission jerks violently, the battery management system fails and leaves the car immobilized, and the regenerative braking system works intermittently, or not at all. One owner in Brussels had to spend around €6,000 on hybrid system repairs in 18 months before finally selling the Capture at a significant loss. The Capture vividly proves what our grandmothers used to say. Cheap in the beginning often turns out expensive in the end. 6th Peugeot 208. In 6th place is the Peugeot 208. This car has caused so many problems in France that some workshops jokingly call it a self-help group for mechanics. With a starting price of around €25,500, it initially seems like a good city car until the first repair bills arrive. The infamous 1.2-litre PureTech engine is the biggest disaster in the small car segment. The wet timing belt disintegrates after just 40,000 kilometers, contaminating the entire oil system with rubber particles. Without warning, the belt snaps, destroying valves and pistons, and in the worst cases, the owner's bank account. A complete engine overhaul costs around €5,200, but the transmission is just as problematic as the engine. The E-8 automatic transmission, supposedly Peugeot's most reliable option, causes severe torque converter issues in 60% of vehicles. According to French Consumer Reports, replacing the entire transmission is often the only solution, at a cost of around €4,500. Some drivers even claim to have replaced the transmission 3 times before reaching 100,000 kilometers. For a compact car in this class, that is simply absurd. But the worst issue is spare parts availability. Since the collapse of the supply chain after 2020, chaos has reigned at Peugeot. Even basic parts such as door handles or throttle bodies are unavailable for months. On several automotive forums, users have complained about waiting more than 3 months for a new throttle body, a long time to have a 208 sitting unused in a workshop. The Peugeot 208 is therefore less a car and more a test of patience on wheels. 5. Jaguar E-Pace. In 5th place is the Jaguar E-Pace, a car that exemplifies everything that is wrong with Jaguar's modern philosophy. With a starting price of around €42,000, this SUV promises British luxury but delivers mostly the reliability of an old Land Rover. The infamous Ingenium engines are considered ticking time bombs. Timing chain failures can occur after as little as 25,000 kilometers. What Jaguar does not tell its customers, however, is that the chain is located at the rear of the engine, which means labor costs alone amount to around €2,000. With spare parts included, the bill quickly rises to €4,500, and if the valves are also damaged, the price climbs to €8,000. The installed ZF transmission is equally unreliable. It struggles to handle torque, the software constantly hunts for the right gear, and mechanical defects can cause total failure without warning. British Jaguar specialists warn that every E-Pace requires a reserve of at least €5,000, and likely another one within 2 years. Electronic problems are also legendary. The entire CAN bus network frequently crashes. Infotainment screens go black, parking sensors give false readings, and persistent battery drain often leaves the car immobilized within days. According to warranty analyses, more than 50% of E-Pace models are also affected by water ingress. Sunroof drains clog frequently, flooding the interior. Door seals fail, allowing moisture to reach sensitive control units. Even the trunk is literally underwater in many vehicles, causing corrosion of expensive electronic modules. Several insurance companies in Great Britain and Europe now refuse comprehensive coverage for used E-Pace models, a clear warning sign for anyone considering buying one. 4. Jeep Compass. In 4th place is the Jeep Compass, a perfect example of American engineering at its worst. With a starting price of around €34,000, European buyers are fooled by its rugged design, only to find themselves stranded more often than in a 40-year-old Fiat. The 1.3-litre Firefly turbo engine, whose name promises optimism, is in reality a disaster. Oil consumption reaches up to 2 litres per 1,000 kilometres, and the variable valve timing system often fails completely after just 45,000 kilometres. This results in metal shavings spreading throughout the engine, a death sentence for any machine, and a replacement engine costs an average of €7,200. The new automatic transmission is notorious among mechanics. It shifts harshly, jerks constantly, and often fails without warning. Software updates cost around €400, but fix almost nothing. A complete transmission replacement costs €5,500. Build quality is equally disastrous. Door handles break frequently, power windows fail monthly, the tailgate opens while driving, and after just one winter, the paint begins to peel. Panel gaps sometimes vary by several centimeters. The Trailhawk, which is supposed to represent professional off-road capability, only makes things worse. The 2.0-litre multijet diesel engine clogs its particulate filter every 15,000 kilometers in urban traffic, and the transfer case leaks oil and squeals loudly. The supposedly advanced all-wheel drive system costs around €3,000 as soon as one of its components fails, which happens to almost all of them. The Compass clearly proves that looking tough is easy, but actually being tough is not. Third, Nissan Qashqai. In third place, our bronze medalist is the latest Nissan Qashqai, a model that clearly demonstrates that newer does not necessarily mean better. The supposedly completely redesigned version retains all the old weaknesses and adds a few new ones. The 1.3-litre mild hybrid system is a prime example of excessive complexity without benefit. The belt-driven starter generator often fails after just 20,000 kilometers, and replacement costs around €1,800. The 12-volt battery constantly discharges because the system simply never charges it properly. Spanish mechanics frequently report that new Qashqais have to be towed to the workshop with a dead battery. The real disaster, however, is the e-Power version, Nissan's supposedly innovative series hybrid, which drives like an electric car but has as many weaknesses as 3 cars combined. The 1.5-litre generator engine runs permanently at full load, causing head gaskets to fail after as little as 15,000 kilometers. The electric motor overheats in city traffic, and the inverter costs around €4,200 when it fails, as it often does. The supposedly intelligent ProPilot system is particularly dangerous as it brakes randomly on the highway. The lane-keeping system swerves between lanes, and the adaptive cruise control sometimes accelerates directly toward vehicles ahead. After several accidents across Europe, official investigations were launched, although Nissan claims everything works perfectly. But the Qashqai is also a mechanical fiasco. Chassis components are so weak that workshops joke about their poor quality. Control arms bend even under normal driving conditions. Bushings often loosen before 20,000 kilometers. Shock absorbers start leaking even before the first service, and a complete suspension overhaul costs around €2,400. 2. Mercedes GLA. In second place, our silver medalist is the current Mercedes GLA, a vehicle that has achieved something truly remarkable, combining premium prices with downgraded reliability. With a starting price of around €38,000, it is considered the worst value for money in the entire European market. The 1.3-litre M282 engine, developed in collaboration with Renault, is a serious blow to Mercedes' image. Coolant leaks into the cylinders regularly cause hydraulic lock, leading to immediate engine failure. And yes, timing chain problems are also very common. The chain begins to stretch after just 30,000 kilometers. Mercedes specialists warn that every GLA will require major engine repairs before 60,000 kilometers at the latest, at a cost of at least €5,000. The 8GDCT dual-clutch transmission is not much better, jerking from a standstill straight from the factory. The clutches overheat in heavy traffic, and the mechatronic unit fails frequently and expensively. Replacement costs around €4,800. The real scandal is that Mercedes is aware of these defects but refuses to issue a recall. The MBUX infotainment system also causes headaches. The screen coating peels off in heat, the processor overheats and throttles performance, and the voice control activates suddenly without any command. One reported case involved a GLA automatically calling emergency services 3 times while parked. and Mercedes later charged the owner €400 for a software optimization that changed nothing. The 4MATIC all-wheel drive system adds more complexity than it is worth. The rear differential overheats and fails prematurely, with replacement costing around €3,200. The Haldex clutch burns out under normal use, and power distribution is so unbalanced that even front-wheel drive competitors perform better off-road. On top of that comes a catastrophic quality control system. Panel gaps vary by centimeters, paint blemishes are common, interior plastics crack in sunlight, and the panoramic sunroof can shatter without warning, a well-known issue that Mercedes simply ignores. It is therefore no surprise that the brand ranks only 28th out of 32 in the European reliability rankings, and that is almost too generous considering the GLA. 1. Range Rover Velar. In first place is the undisputed loser, the vehicle that mechanics all across Europe warn their customers never to buy, the Range Rover Velar. With a starting price of around €62,000, it is not only expensive, but a mechanical suicide on four wheels. Let's start with the infamous Ingenium engines. Whether gasoline or diesel, both are a disaster. Timing chain failures occur after as little as 20,000 kilometers. What is truly insane, however, is that the entire engine has to be removed to repair it, requiring 25 hours of labor and costing at least €9,000. If the valves are damaged in the process, the only option is a new engine, which costs €15,000. The transmission is no better. The 9-speed ZF automatic transmission is completely overwhelmed by the Velar's weight and torque. The software constantly hunts for the right gear, and mechanical failures are so frequent that some dealerships keep transmissions in stock. A replacement costs around €7,500. Electrical problems reach almost biblical proportions. The dual-screen infotainment system fails frequently, and each screen costs €3,500. The air suspension compressor burns out approximately every 20,000 kilometers, adding another €2,200 to the bill. The electronic door handles fail in cold weather, leaving occupants literally locked inside the vehicle. The entire electrical system is so failure-prone that some insurance companies refuse to issue policies for the Velar. And as if that were not enough, water ingress in the Velar is not just a possibility, it is a guaranteed problem. The panoramic sunroof drains clog almost immediately. Door seals fail from the factory, and the trunk fills with water after the first wash. The water destroys control units and results in 5-figure repair bills. Some mechanics claim to have seen 3-month-old Velars already growing mold inside. But the greatest insult to any buyer is depreciation. After just 3 years, the Velar loses an average of 65% of its value, the worst rate in the luxury class. A model that costs €75,000 new is then worth only around €26,000, assuming it is still running. According to TÜV data, the Velar has the highest failure rate of all vehicles examined. 78% fail their first inspection, and Land Rover's response to this endless list of issues is denial, delay, and legal threats against critics. Warranty claims for these models are systematically rejected. Manufacturers blame customers, citing improper use. Meanwhile, mechanics across Europe have a clear message: never buy any of these 17 vehicles. They represent everything that is wrong with modern automotive development: complexity without reliability, luxury prices without quality. The problems are always the same: overly technical engines, fragile transmissions, and electrical systems that seem designed by sadists. The numbers speak for themselves. According to the 2024 DEKRA reliability study, these 17 models alone account for 31% of all serious mechanical failures, despite representing only 8% of the vehicles examined. Their average repair cost exceeds €2,500 per year, 3 times the European average. Even more shocking, manufacturers have known this for years. Internal documents, whistleblower reports, and technical service bulletins clearly show that these defects are well known. Yet the vehicles continue to be sold to unsuspecting buyers who believe they are investing in quality. So what should you do? According to the same mechanics who warn against these 17 disasters, you should stick to proven reliability. Consider a Toyota Corolla, a Honda Civic, a Mazda CX-5, a Skoda Octavia up to model year 2020, or a Volkswagen Golf without a DSG transmission. These models may seem boring at first glance, but your wallet will thank you. Before signing any purchase contract, research thoroughly. Read forums, consult reliability studies and recall databases, and talk directly to workshops. Here we tell you the whole truth that manufacturers try to hide, because in the automotive market of 2026, avoiding these 17 cars is not just smart, it is vital for your finances.